Welcome to Class Summit. So this is what we're going to be making, and if it looks like what you want to know, trouser with waist rope, please kindly stay to the end. Okay. So here I folded my fabric into two. This is for the front. We're going to be marking out 2 inches. This 2 inches is going to serve as the folding for where the rope will be. So all our measurement is going to start from where the 2 inches stops. Now to get our measurements, we divide the hip into four and I minus 1 inch from it. That is for the hip circumference. So here for the crotch length, I'm using 10 inches. 10 inches for a hip of 41. Okay, so from where the measurement for the waist stops, I marked 10 inches below, and by the side I kept 1 inch that will serve as my seam allowance when I'm done taking the measurements. This is on a fabric, so I need to keep for seam allowance at once. So from that 1 inch, like I said before, I minus 1 inch. That is hip divided by 4 minus 1, right? I'm using this at the hip area. Now I will mark it on the waistline. I'm going to, whatever I have on the hip line, I'm going to mark the same thing on the waistline because this is having a rope, so it's not going to be fitted. I will just use it to create a box. Okay, and that is why I'm rolling it up straight the way it is. Now at the crotch line, I'm going to extend it by 2 inches and connect it to the waistline, right? Just connecting it to the waistline, marking out the 2 inches, right? Then at the hip line, I'm going to from the cross line, I went up by 2 inches to locate the hip line, which I'm going to go out by 0.25 just to know how I'm going to place this curve to get my crotch curve. I hope you understand that. I located the hip line and went out by 0.25 to know how I'm going to connect this crotch. Just a guide. Now the waistline, I went in by half an inch, right? Just to give it a little slant at the front. But it still does not matter if you take it straight. I hope this makes sense to you. Okay. So like I said, the 2 inches is for the rope. So we're just going to go up there straight. Of course, we'll bend it when we are done. Now for, there's not going to be a waist dart and all of that. Okay, now I added extra half an inch to the crotch line, which is going to serve as my seam allowance for that side. Okay, seam allowance. Now I located the midpoint from my actual crotch length to the end of the measurement. I located the midpoint and I'm going to mark that midpoint straight to the full length of my trouser. I'm marking the midpoint straight to just the normal way we do it before. In case you've not um, watched videos before, I have videos on how to make a trouser, a fitted trouser, a corporate trouser. Okay, just that midpoint is what we are getting. Now from the crotch line, I'll mark 12 inches to find my knee line, right? 12 inches from the crotch line. I hope you know where the crotch line is, where I said I came down by 10 inches from the waistline. And I will mark that across. Now from the knee line, I'm going to, sorry, from the waistline, I will locate my full measurement, full length of the trouser. I used 42 from the waistline. I hope you know where we're getting our waistline from. I'll mark the full length of the trouser, like so. Now I will get the calf that is in between the knee and the ankle. When I divide the knee and the ankle into two, I will go up by 1 inch to mark where my calf is because I want this trouser to be fitted and the lower part. I want the legs to be fitted. Okay, so I'll locate the calf, and I also took measurements of the calf, which I'm going to be dividing in between the lines. Now at the nail line we have 18 inches. I will divide 18 into 4 and mark it on both sides of the line. At the calf also I have 16 inches. I will divide it into 4, and the ankle I'm also going to divide it into 4 and mark it in between the two lines. You wonder why I'm dividing into 4? You're going to mark it in between the two lines. Whatever you mark here is what you're going to mark here. So that is what I am doing. Okay, and then after which I'll add half an inch to all the measurements on the inseam. All the measurements on the inseam, I'll add half an inch for seam allowance, and I'll connect from the crotch to my knee like so, using this curve, and then using a straight curve I'll connect from the knee to the calf and to the ankle. I hope that is taking. Now at the other side, I'm going to be adding 1 inch for the side seam allowance. 1 inch for the side seam allowance. Remember that I kept 1 inch at the hip line, so I'm just going to add that 1 inch to serve as my seam allowance for the side. And also at the lower part I'll add 1 inch. I know that these markings are not so clear. Please follow the way I'm explaining it and you're going to understand what we're doing. So the 1 inch is what I'm marking at the hip line and the waistline. So you may choose to also add the half an inch to the crotch line this way, which I've already added before. Just connect it up. Okay, so it's time to cut, and I'm just going to cut everything out. You can see the way it is. Now folded for the back, and I place the front on top of the back. Now I'm going to trace out the sides, the everything for the front. I'm just going to trace it out. This tracing is going to serve as a guide. Okay, equally trace the crotch line. This is going to serve as a guide, but the back side I'm going to cut it separately. All right, it's just for me to know where the lines are instead of starting afresh to cut them, to mark them. The crotch line, the knee line, the calf, and the length of the trouser. And of course at the upper part I kept extra 1.5 inch, which will make the back to be longer than the front at the upper part. Now while marking this, you're to keep 1 inch allowance by the side, which I'm going to also add to the back because I'm taking my actual measurements here. The measurement for the hip we divided by 4, then I'll add the 1 inch that I minus from the front. I'll add it to the back and the mark. Okay, the same thing to the front. Whatever I marked on the hip, I will divide my actual hip into 4 and add that 1 inch that I removed from the front. So the back is going to be wider than the front by 1 inch. This is because I want the back side to have more freeness. Okay, so I'm going to rule the lines across this way, use it to form a box. At the upper part I'll go up by 1.5 inch like I said before and connect it to the waistline for the front, so that the back will be higher than the front. Back will be higher than the front. Now for the crotch line I extended it by 3.5 inch. 3.5 inch for the back, and then I'll add extra half an inch for seam allowance. This is because the spaces I kept is not that much. If not, I would have added 4 inches. Okay, so I will just connect it to my crotch line, connect it this way to towards the waistline. Now what I did at the front, I equally did here. Get the hip line and go out by 0.25 so that it will help you to connect the crotch line. I hope this is understood. Okay, now I'm taking the measurement to locate the midpoint, which may not actually be necessary. Okay, this midpoint is not actually necessary because everything for the front has been calculated. So all you have to do is just to add the allowances that you need by the side. Okay, so like I said, it's not necessary. So I'll have to add my same allowance of 1 inch to the back side. Now you may wonder we have same allowance at the front, but remember I just took actual measurement for the back, so we're still going to add the same allowance, meaning that the back is going to be wider than the front. So once I add all of this, and remember that I use the front to as a guideline, so I'll just trace it, adding it to the lines that I've marked before, and I'll be good to go. Now this 1 inch is only at the waist and the hip. At the lower part, all I'm adding is half an inch because I took actual measurement for the lower part from the knee to the ankle. So from the knee to the ankle here, all I'm adding is half an inch on both sides, which you may decide not to add if you want the back and front to be of the same measurement. Okay, you can just connect from the hip line towards the ankle, the knee line the same way. But if you want the back to be a bit wider than the front, you're just going to add half an inch on the two sides, and of course it's going to increase your measurement by 1 inch. I hope this is understood. Okay, so like I said, we want the I personally want the back side to be wider, so I came up with this method of cutting the trouser or using the freehand, because over time I've used other patterns, but sometimes I don't like the way the back is so fitted at the back side. I don't like it that way, so I just wanted something a bit free. Now you can see I've placed the front at on the back, and you can see where all the measurements that I've taken and the allowance I have at the back, and it is just what I want. Okay, so I'm just going to cut it out, cut the excesses. You can see the way it is. So once we are done this, all I have to do is to join the front crotch line, front to front crotch line, and then I will join the back cross lines together. And once that is done, I'll begin to join the front and back together from the sides. Of course, you can start anywhere once you've pinned everything down. No part is longer than the other. So just going to hold them this way and sew on our seam allowance. Okay, remember on the inseam I sewed half an inch for inseam allowance, and on the side we're going to sew 1 inch for the side seam allowance. Right, so this is just what I'm going to do to run stitches on all of the side. Then at the upper part we're going to fold the 2 inches. Okay, now folded the 2 inches, and all I did was to make a rope and use needle to insert it, and this is the rope, and our trouser is ready. Very simple and clear. Thank you for watching. Bye.